You want me to pray or you're going to pray?
You could lead today.
Okay. What's up, guys?
Hello, welcome back.
Welcome back to Unfiltered Journeys podcast. We're your hosts, Lisandra.
I'm Karina.
And today we're going to be following up our boundaries episode.
Yes.
So it's a good one. We're pretty much going to be talking about the aftermath after you set the boundaries and draw the line in the sand, in the reactions that you get from people
Right.
when you stand 10 toes.
Exactly. Which sometimes we're not prepared for. So here
Right.
we go. Obviously, last episode we talked about setting boundaries, what that looks like, what are red flags, and how we can protect ourselves from that, right? So we're going to go over what it looks like when you do assert your boundaries and what those behaviors from friends, family, even partners might look like. And why don't we kick it off? Like, I'll start with, I think, some of my personal experiences. I've mentioned it in the podcast before. I don't really have a relationship with my family. So in the beginning, I think it's a lot of them not understanding what's going on and trying to justify their behaviors as a way of like continuing to stay in your life. Not understanding where those boundaries are coming from and really not trying to see like your point of view as the person asserting those boundaries, right? I think when it comes to family, that's something that I've experienced hands on is like, but why? Why are you doing that? Like, I'm this to you. Like, how could you do that to me? Like, I've been in your life this whole time. I love you so much, but you're not respecting what I'm asking of you, right? So it can cause different, I think, reactions. They can get angry, they can get upset, defensive, because they don't get why you're doing it. And they're also not trying to get it. Like, they're not actively trying to understand and hear your side of it. Instead, it's kind of like they're trying to defend why they're acting the way that they're acting.
Right.
Yeah.
I do feel though as though sometimes it can be that they don't want to understand when you set a boundary with somebody and their behaviors are just shifted, right? Sometimes they don't want to understand, but sometimes they really are just not able to understand.
Yes.
I think this is where really good communication comes in and being able to have that open line of communication, speaking about your feelings with somebody, speaking about why you're setting the boundaries. If you're able to have that conversation with somebody who is receptive to listening to you, they are going to be open to that. And then, like you said, you're going to have some of those people who they just don't care. They just don't care where it is that you're coming from, don't want to hear you or understand you. And that's obviously when the conversation becomes a little bit more difficult to have. And you don't need to explain either.
Right. And you said something key there. Some people are just not capable of understanding. And I think I went through a season where that I didn't quite get that until I understood like this person isn't going to understand me because they haven't done the level of work that I've had
Right.
to do internally. They haven't done that on themselves. So me really trying to make a case for myself is going to go nowhere because they're just not there mentally or, spiritually, or they just haven't gotten to the place where I need them to be to really understand where I'm coming from. So that was actually really a good point because there are times where people are just not going to understand you.
Right.
And you have to decide to keep your boundary and just keep moving on.
Exactly. And it's perfectly okay. Whenever somebody has their reaction, it's not a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on you setting your boundaries. It's them and where they are. Sometimes people can meet you and sometimes they cannot. And you really just have to be okay with the fact that this is my boundary anyway, no matter what your reaction is.
Right.
Pretty much after you start setting these boundaries and you get a reaction, let's say it's a negative reaction, that is when you might start feeling certain types of way about yourself, certain types of ways about the boundaries that you have set. You could feel guilty. You could start second guessing yourself. Please, 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 please do not do this.
It is true though. I think I suffer from that 100%. Like I think I will make a decision whether it is like I can no longer be associated with this person, or maybe I decided to go and make the right choice for me that might have gone against whatever the norm could have been in that structure, whether it was the family structure, friendship structure, even like professionally, right? And I think sometimes that can be so isolating and lonely because like you refuse to go with like what the norm is, and you decide like, no, I'm not gonna follow this path, like this is the right thing to do and this is what I think, this is where I want to go. That like not everyone is brave enough to do that, so you find yourself at times being that one person that has to go through that alone and feel like you are alone at times, and that's really when the second guessing comes to me. It's like, was I too harsh? Like, did I make the right decision? Like, was I being too much? And I really start wondering, because of the loneliness that I feel, like if that was the right call. And I think that's when I really like grab onto like my faith, because I know I made that decision for a reason and I don't want to backtrack. So it's like I'm gonna need God to like help me through it. I'm gonna need like people that I rely on and talk it out and be like, did I do the right thing? Like I'm like stressing out right now,
Yes.
and it's because of those people and because of my faith that like I've been able to just like double down on my decisions, because there was times when I was younger with like even like the family example where I would feel so guilty, like I would feel like the worst daughter in the world, that would make me go back to those situations, to those environments, and then I like would regret it like right away, So I learned through those experiences that like I'm not going to put myself at jeopardy to make somebody else comfortable or to please somebody else, right? Because it's me that I'm putting in jeopardy, my peace, my like, that thing's just throwing me off right now.
I know.
There's a car alarm going off right now. Like, who is trying to steal a car? Let me stop. But yeah, like I just think, going back to like, I'm not gonna continue to jeopardize like all the hard work, the peace of mind, everything that I've had to do for somebody else that doesn't really care at the end of the day.
100%. And I do feel, and we've spoken about this before, that you just really have to be okay with pissing people off, making other people uncomfortable, because you ultimately need to be able to stand up for yourself, look out for yourself. And sometimes people look at that as selfish. I think you do need to be a little bit selfish in life, especially when you're coming from a people pleaser mentality. When you have that type of mindset, you do need to learn to be a little bit more selfish.
Exactly.
Now, there's obviously extremes to all of this. There's some people who are just way too selfish and
right.
self-absorbed, and they don't consider anybody about anything at all. That's not what we're saying to become. There's should be a healthy balance of both, of course. And again, when you set these boundaries and you stand on them, it is going to invoke reactions from people, whether it is going to be them understanding you or them completely just removing themselves or isolating you, guilt tripping you. There's going to be a lot of, pushback that you kind of get. And you might get some passive aggressive reactions. You might get some type of gaslighting. You might get the love bombing, or somebody who just completely shuts down on you. There's a lot of different reactions that you could get. So we'll kind of get into what those will look like a little bit as well.
So passive aggressions, one you just mentioned, right? I think that's very common, at least in what I've experienced, is people have a hard time just being straight up and like coming to you and being like, I have a problem, or can we talk? Because like, I don't know what you meant by that. And I really have appreciated, and I'm starting to appreciate so much more like people that are just like about it and direct, and like will literally be like, what's going on, right? And I think the people in my life now are like so direct, and I'm not afraid to have those hard conversations, which is like a plus for me. Like I think every time someone is direct with me, I know it's because like they want to make sure like we're good, you know what I mean? Because if not, they would just let things be. Right. But the fact that it's like, you know what, like I need to talk to you because X, Y, and Z, I'm open to that conversation, right? And likewise with me too, it's like I can come to you and be like, you know what, I didn't appreciate that, or I can come to any of my friends and say that, but it's in a loving way.
Exactly.
You know?
With good intention.
With good intention.
And I think intention matters for sure in conversations. And even me and you have this when we're like communicating in text messages.
Yeah.
I'm such a direct person.
Yes.
Kind of extremely direct. For me, my intention is I hate having conversations that are like time filler conversations. And here's my point. This is what I'm trying to say, because I want to make sure that you're getting it and understanding it. And we can definitely have the conversation, ask questions. And if I need to clarify anything, perfectly fine. But I just want to get the information there without all the extra added fluff, because then the point could get lost. And so I'm a super direct
You're
person.
very to the point. Like to the point.
And I do know that sometimes that can be like an issue for some people.
I think people that aren't used to that directiveness, or I think people that struggle with feedback, like constructive criticism. I think, you know, even us dealing with like social media and editing, and it's like I don't take anything you say the wrong way, because we're both trying to,
we have the same goal.
Exactly. We're both trying to do the same thing. So you know more in terms of social media than I do, right? So it's like I take your feedback as advice. I don't try to look at it as like, she don't know what she's talking about. You know what I mean? Or I like mine better.
And she's so good at the content that I kind of just like, I'll give my 2 cents here and there, but I'm like, you got it, girl. Like she's really good
and
at
same
it.
with the like editing. I don't even worry about that. You just do you. And it's like, but it's that trust thing where like, we talk about, okay, for next episode, let's, you know, and it's that collaborativeness that really has made this what it is, you know, and like trusting each other to do what we are supposed to do individually, but then bringing that vision to life together, and like, what do we need to do to get there? So that also helps that you're direct, because I'm not gonna send you something and you don't want to hurt my feelings, where you're like, no, this one will literally be like, I don't like it. Like, I don't like it. Let's do this. And it looks trash. Like, I'm like, okay, you know, but then I know. And she's like, and I even told you one time, I was like, yeah, I literally just like clipped whatever. She's like, I could tell. I could tell. Yeah. But I appreciate that, because it pushes me to actually like focus in and not get away with like the laziness that I be trying to get away with sometimes, you know? And that goes like with you.
It helps keep us accountable.
Yeah, definitely. Which I like having people that are like straight up and like push me to like do better, you know, because I'm not gonna get better if you keep yesing me and I'm putting out stuff that like really is like not that great, right? So I actually appreciate the directiveness as I get older, and it's teaching me, someone that's really struggles with, like, again, I've said this before, putting how I feel into words, because like I wasn't always great at expressing my needs and blah blah blah. So it pushes me to be direct back, you know, because you're actually helping me develop that skill set without me even realizing it, right?
And that should be healthy communication. This is our example, because this is how, you know, we work together and everything.
Yeah.
And we make it a team, no matter when we disagree or whatever. It's very much in a healthy way.
Right.
This is how all communication should go. It should look like that. You should be able to, even when you disagree, understand where the other person is coming from, and just be able to hear them and listen to them without the arguing, without the
defensiveness,
being a problem,
or taking it personal, because it's not an attack on you, You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you saying that was trash, I could have easily been like, well, what? You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like, it's not a direct attack on me as a person or as an individual. It's one, the way you communicate, right? But two, it's you talking about that specific thing. You know, I think sometimes we take what people say, and instead of seeing it from that perspective of them trying to give us advice to be better, and do this, we take it as like, oh, that person's like talking about me in that way.
Right.
And it's not about you. It's about what the topic is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Like, oh, if you think this is trash, then you think I'm trash, kind of a thing.
Yes,
For sure.
yes.
100%.
And that's the area that we got to be very careful, because then that just limits our communication. If you think I think that of you, then you're going to talk to me differently now, because now you're in your feelings.
Exactly.
Right? So it's just like, that's like very tricky. I feel like not everyone. Well, now I'm more aligned with the people, but like in the past, it was like personal attacks when it was never that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even myself, I would take it as like what? You know?
Right.
And it's like, as I've matured, I've realized like, no, like this is like this person pushing me into being better by being honest and being real and telling me what I got to work on. And that's like what a real friend is.
And you should be able to use the discernment, because, again, there's going to be a spectrum of this. There are going to be people who have your best intentions at heart and are communicating because they do want for the two of you to have a connection. They want the two of you to be able to understand each other. Then there's going to be people who are going to, again, gaslight you, have the passive aggressiveness, tell you that your feelings are wrong and you're doing something wrong, you're overreacting. There'll be people who give you the silent treatment. Oh, ugh, I cannot stand this. We can't even communicate. What is this?
Yes.
And there's a difference between somebody just giving you the silent treatment and then somebody who is telling you, I hear you. I'm going to have to reflect on this. I need a minute before I respond to you, because I want to be able to respond in a way that is beneficial to the both of us.
Exactly.
I want to be able to respond from a place of understanding and not a place where I'm in my emotions. So you're going to have to use your discernment on these things, because sometimes certain reactions might look like it's something good, but it's really not. Or the reverse. It might look like, oh, they're giving me the silent treatment. They don't want to talk, but they communicated to you like, I want to talk to you. Just give me a minute. So definitely use your discernment for sure.
That was a great tip, Lysandra.
Oh, I think you. So now we'll get into some of the tools to be able to stay grounded when it is that you set a boundary and you might be second guessing yourself. Here's some of the things that you can kind of do to go back to ground zero.
Well, for me, journaling, 100%. 100%. I've actually haven't done a lot of it, but it was something that like I wanted to get back to, especially since we've been doing the podcast. I kind of been pre-writing my thoughts prior to our topics.
Love that.
And it's so amazing to me when you go back and read whatever you write, because you can actually like see the growth, like real time. Like you're reading your previous entries and now you're reading where you're at, and like you're like, wow, I can't believe I was there like 3 months ago and look at me here today, right? And honestly, journaling helps me put out my thoughts if it's something that I'm not ready to share with someone yet, or if I'm like very upset about it and I don't really know how to process those feelings, or maybe I don't even know how I feel at times, but I just like need to like just like write it out and let it out. Journaling has helped me so much, because I remind myself like I did this because of this reason and I feel this way and I don't know if I feel the right way. And it's like you just start spilling into like the paper, that by the end of it you're like it's like a weight off, and then it's like you get that clarity, like I did this, I did the right thing for myself, you know. So I've always relied on journaling for sure, as a way to release and remind myself, and also look back to the previous boundaries that I've set and the previous relationships that I've had to let go, and then seeing the aftermath, which has always been for my good. always worked out for me in the right way, you know?
Exactly. And so some of the things that you guys can look at whenever you're trying to journal, if you haven't journaled before, just think about, okay, what boundary am I setting? Why do I need to set this boundary? Then you can come back to that a week later. So how did I feel before I even set this boundary? What were those feelings? How am I feeling after I've set those boundaries?
Right.
And kind of just do things like that to reflect and help you, and again, keep you grounded. Another thing you can do is affirmations. I personally love affirmations and little mantras. I think they really help. I swear if I could just get all of them tatted, I would have like a whole book on my arms and I would just constantly be reading them.
Like, remind yourself, I am
Right,
worthy.
just little reminders.
I deserve
because-
love. I deserve peace. I deserve all the things.
Exactly. And you can say, exactly what she just said, or I'm allowed to protect my peace. I am allowed to set these boundaries. And people's reactions don't define me or my truth. So for sure, definitely if those things help you, even if you have to write them down, put them on the mirror, say them every morning and night before you go to sleep, whatever helps for sure.
And remember, like, these are all boundaries, and you know, the decisions that we make for ourselves are all an act of love for ourselves. So it's just another way of loving yourself and prioritizing yourself. So if you need to do these things, don't be ashamed that you have to do it. You know what I mean? Like, just do what you got to do for you.
Exactly. The purpose of this life, I think, is to live the life that you have. Don't let life live you.
Yes.
Don't let it wear you down.
Oh, don't live for others.
Oh my goodness, that's very true. Not that you should not consider others,
Right.
but for sure,
It's
you
your
should
life.
be living for you. Even as a parent, I have said so many times, I am living the life that I genuinely want to live. And sometimes there are like little sacrifices that I have to make because of my child, or for my child rather. But I always tell myself, if it's something that I really want to do and it might sacrifice a little bit of time with my child now for a longer term benefit, I just remind myself what the end goal is, what the long term goal is, because I do also need to be able to be happy with my life. I never want to ever go back and resent my child for something and then my child feel that.
Yes.
Because I have been in that position before. I have been in the position where my parents may have given something up, and then there's like a constant reminder of what they gave up for me. And as a child, it's like, well, I don't care. I don't care. I didn't ask.
And it's
to
not
be
your
here.
fault as a child. They chose to do that. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's like, why put the blame on you when it was a decision that they have to own to it?
Exactly. And so that's why for me in life now, I still make the sacrifices for my child and still make sure that I am living a life that I am happy with and I am content with, because I never want my child to feel as though
Yeah.
he's the reason that mom, gave something up and is missing something in life. Never that, ever.
And when you're full, right? Going back to that, when you're full, when you're happy with your life, when you're fulfilled as a mom, that spills over to your child anyways, where you're now telling your child it's okay to do things for yourself. It's okay to do the things that you desire for you. It's okay to follow your dreams and still have a family and still raise a kid and still do all these things. I think sometimes we
Exactly.
limit ourselves, that now that I'm a mom, I can do X, Y, and Z. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And I think that's that limiting belief that sometimes can get in the way of us women living like fulfilling lives. Of course, there are
Exactly
going to be
that.
sacrifices at times that you need to get done, but at a certain point, even as a mother, like, you need to make decisions for yourself, because you deserve a happy life. You deserve to feel fulfilled. You deserve the same things that your child deserves.
Exactly. And that's genuinely how I look at it. That's genuinely how I try to live out my life as best as I can because I want to be the best version of myself. I've said this a million times. Be the best version of myself so I can show up as the best mother that
For
I
your
can
child.
be.
Exactly.
Definitely. And so
And you are, girl. You are. Okay.
we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent there.
Yes,
Sorry.
but that
But
is
for
facts.
sure, healthy communication, healthy boundary setting. This is what we want. So that way you guys could just have a healthy, I guess, relationships
Yeah.
with the people that are around you, or remove yourself from situations when it is not so healthy.
Right. And we hope that you can learn from our experiences, and maybe it'll motivate you from seeing that there is a positive that came out of our, the decisions that we've had to make. And it's not saying that it's easy. Yeah, remove yourself. You know what I mean? But it's a
Right.
process. Like, it's a decision that you have to commit to. Like, you need to make that commitment to whatever it is that your boundary is, whatever it is that you decided with this individual. You need to commit to that. You need to commit to yourself and understand, like, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a journey. It's going to take time. But once you get past all that, you're going to never regret choosing yourself over somebody else.
And be mindful of what the signs of healthy responses look like from people. Healthy communication looks like from people. When somebody is saying things like, I hear you, when they are telling you, thanks for having that conversation with me, I'm going to reflect on that, think about that, get back to you. These are kinds of conversations that you want to be able to have with people. Whenever they're staying really calm and present, there's no yelling, or to the other extreme, completely shutting down. You're able to actually work through the conversation with somebody. These are signs of healthy responses, healthy communication. I actually just had a conversation with someone yesterday where we didn't necessarily agree on something. They felt that I said something in a way that they just didn't love, and I felt like they said something to me that kind of hurt my feelings, and the both of us just completely heard each other out. We were coming from a place of understanding where it is the other one is coming from to try to make them feel heard and understood. And it was just the best conversation. It was such healthy communication. And without the growth and all of the things that we're doing and talking about on this podcast, I don't think that I would have those conversations. And by the way, when we're talking to you guys about these things, it's not because we're perfect at this. It's not because we're coming from a place of...
Not at all.
No, we're not preaching to you. We are not saying, oh, we are so great at this. We never make a mistake. No.
I make them
We
daily.
still get these wrong.
Yes.
There are times, that conversation I had yesterday, super healthy, super calm. Sometimes I am very reactive. And so I have to be super mindful of all of these things.
Right. And I could be passive aggressive. So that's where that came from. I'm like, I'm very much passive aggressive because it's like, I want to say those things, but then the non-confrontational side of me is like, nah, girl, just act funny. It's okay. So yeah, we definitely have our areas of improvement. So don't think that this is just us being like, we are so much better because of X, Y, and Z. And it's not. We're just being real and honest. And it's things that we talk about when we meet up and just have these conversations that we're like, oh my God, that's such a great topic. Like, we should talk about that.
Exactly. And it's okay to make mistakes along the way. It's okay to not have this perfect. It is okay not to be the best version of yourself 100% of the time. Sometimes we are going to show up a little bit depleted. Sometimes we might show up as 20% of ourselves. Sometimes we might show up as 50% of ourselves. It is okay to be who you are as long as you reflect on it and as long as you try to show up better the next time.
Exactly. And you continuously keep on improving.
And so just remember, guys, that healthy people are going to be okay with your boundaries and going to respect that because they want to be a part of your life. They want to have a good relationship with you. So just be mindful of all the signs.
Exactly. And, take some time this week to, again, maybe practice journaling or talk to a close friend and discuss. Maybe there's something that happened that is still bothering you and you haven't really talked about it. Maybe you want to spit it out on paper or talk to a close friend. But find out what that is. Let it go, and you'll see how, I guess, releasing that, you'll feel that weight come off your shoulders and you'll feel good about the decisions that you're making for yourself. So one step at a time, one journal entry at a time, you'll get there.
Well, we love you guys as always. Thank you so much for being here with us and listening to us. If you have watched this episode through and through, drop a little moon in the comments.
Drop
below.
a moon.
For sure. As always, we love you guys.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys.
Love you guys.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. Let us know what it is that you want to hear more of on the podcast or what the next conversation should be. And we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye.